Look around! So many ways to kill you. I command you to die! Don't bring that trash over here. You're going to die looking like that? You are right to fear my greatness.
Hey guys, welcome back. We are playing Qiyana today. AD assassin that can be played both as a mid laner and as a jungler. Her passive, your next auto attack or ability against the target is going to deal bonus damage, and every single time you pick up a new element, then this passive is going to reset. Your W is the ability that we were starting with, and this is also the ability that allows you to pick up new elements. So I have 3 different elements that you can choose from. The one we have right now is the river element, so you have to hover the cursor over the element you want to pick up, and then you press W and she's going to pick it up. If you don't know the range of it, then you can just hover the cursor over the W ability and then it shows the range. So the river element, guys, is going to root people. So this is the element that you use most of the time when you go for engages because of the guaranteed CC. Then the other one is the brush element. When you use it, then it's going to grant you invisibility and some bonus movement speed. This is very good for kiting. You know, when you fight against champs that can outtrade you, then you usually trade with this brush element because it makes it impossible for them to trade back. Then the last element is the terrain element. This is the one that deals bonus damage to low HP targets. So in a combo, this is the one that you want to use at the end of your combos because it's like an execution ability. So we have our Q here. Your Q is the ability that throws out the element, guys. And then you have your E, that's like a dash. So now you have like the basic combos unlocked. So now what's really important to know here is that when you use E and then Q immediately, then Qiyana will automatically target that Q for you. So you don't have to aim it. So like EQ, you want to engage with the river element because that is going to root. And then you immediately switch to the terrain element after it hits. Because you want to use the terrain at the end of your combos, because as I said early on, it deals execution damage, it deals more damage to low HP targets, so that's why you want to use it at the end of your combos. So Qiyana, being an assassin, of course you are looking for those kills in the laning phase. You can start doing that as soon as you hit level 3, because then all of your basic abilities are unlocked. And just like that, most of the time you should be able to pick up those solo kills in the lane, guys. That is really what you want to do on Qiyana. Start with the river element because it roots, and then you switch to a terrain element once the target is low HP, and then you finish them off. You don't use the brush element very often if you're like in a normal matchup, but that is something you can use when you play against, for example, Lucian or Tristana in the mid lane, those lane bullies. Because they can outtrade you, so you can like engage with the brush element because it makes you invisible, so they can't really trade back. So that's why you can use the brush one, but otherwise most of the time you want to be using the river element into the terrain. Your W passive also gives you some bonus effects when you have elements up, such as increased damage, auto attack range, and attack speed. Another key thing to know here is that when you have an element and you walk nearby that element, then you get some bonus movement speed. This is very good for roaming. So of course you pick up the river element when you walk through the river for that bonus movement speed, and then of course it is also the best one when you want to gank. Now that we have this serrated Dirk, that's like a big power spike for AD assassins. There's like the point where you just can all-in people in a single rotation. So you have to play really aggressive on these champs, guys. Constantly look for those short trades. So when all of your 3 basic abilities are up, make sure the river element is ready. Then you go in with the EQ, because as I said early on, when you do the E into Q, then Qiyana will automatically aim that Q for you. So you don't have to aim it. So get a guaranteed hit. And since it's the river element, it is going to root people. Then you immediately switch over to the terrain element as a finisher. That's like a short trade. That's what you keep doing, and once the target is low HP, then you just run them down. Now that you have the ultimate up, so what it does is that it is going to knock people back, and then if you knock them into terrain, the shockwave will form around them, stunning them and dealing a lot of damage as well. So when you fight, try to make sure that the opponent is nearby walls or something. So go in with like an EQ with the river element, then you ult them, so you knock them into the wall, and then you switch to the terrain element and finish them off. That's a basic combo, and that's what you want to do most of the time. Remember, AD Assassins, very good at roaming. You have to abuse that on Qiyana as well. That's why we went for the roam right here. She's very strong. Make sure you have the river element because that is the one that roots. Just EQ like this, guys. That's a guaranteed hit because it automatically aims for you, and that is the ultimate. You can see it forms around the terrain. So it can have massive range depending on where you use it. You want to knock people into the terrain because that's where the stun comes out. So this champ has a lot of burst damage, and her damage is like the instant burst damage, so it's very hard to react to. Remember to constantly switch between the elements because of the passive. You cannot use 2 terrain elements because that is not going to reset the passive. Always make sure that you switch the elements up and never use the same one twice. Sometimes you can use it twice if you just want to kite people. You know, you can pick up 2 river elements so you can like root people over and over. But do not do that when you're like actually fighting, because you want to abuse that passive. The mythic item that you buy on Qiyana is the Prolus, because that gives you the highest damage output because of the lethality passive. Every single time you finish a legendary item, then you get more lethality. So that is of course the perfect assassination item for Qiyana. But honestly, you can go with any of the mythic items, but if you want the highest damage, then of course Prolus is the item to go for. You can also go for Eclipse, that's going to make you a bit tankier, also giving you some sustain. And then we also have Dustblade, which gives you a lot of ability haste, as well as that invisibility upon takedowns. So as you can see, I always have that river element prepared, guys, because that is the one that you have to use when you engage. So always have that one up before a fight starts. Always have it up, because that gives you that root so you can like get guaranteed damage off afterwards. Also another thing, guys, is that when you pick up a new element with your W, then your Q is going to reset. Most people should know this, but if you don't know, then that's how it works. So I could have survived here, but I accidentally dashed into the brush here, meaning that I was within range of the kill. As you can see, I'm trying to use the brush element a lot when I'm low HP and I need to kite people, because that invisibility and movement speed really makes it that much easier. So we don't have enough gold right now for the Prolus. Normally you want to finish that item first, but since we did not have enough gold, we just went for the boots. These are the boots that you want to be getting every single game. Of course, ability haste, and they're cheap as well. You get that haste, allowing your abilities as well as summoners to come off cooldown a lot faster. Ganking, always initiate with the river element, really allows you to pick up those free kills. Make sure that you kite people around, and you can see when you have that brush element out with a Q, impossible to trade back. This gem is so good for roaming, so really make sure that you abuse that, especially if you're not able to find kills in the mid lane. Like Kill is pretty difficult to kill after level 6 because she has that ultimate, and she can also trade back really easily nowadays because she can abuse that lethal tempo. So you have to be really careful against these matchups. If you're not able to trade back or fight them, guys, focus on shoving the wave out and then just roam. Like I did right here. I roamed bot lane twice and we got a couple kills for myself and for our bot lane as well. So that's how you snowball on these AD assassins. So constantly keep an eye on the minimap, always look for opportunities. It doesn't matter if you're like going to miss like a wave, half a wave or something, because those AD assassins, they are not focused on farming a lot, they are focused on getting kills. So Qiyana is not a champ where you'll have really high CS per minute. It's a roaming champ, similar to something like a Katarina, Talon. So you focus a lot on getting those kills and roaming a lot as well. Also that ultimate, you can use it in the brushes as well as the river, and that stun will come out. But if you, for example, use it in the mid lane and it does not connect with the nearby terrain, it is not going to, the shockwave will not form, meaning that people will not get stunned. So it's important that if you want to use it for damage, make sure that you knock people into terrain unless you are in the river or in the brushes. We got the Protoss Claw, big power spike guys. The active of course gives you that increased damage, but sometimes it is overkill using that active because most of the time when you finish this item then you have enough damage. This item is mostly bought because of that passive. As you can see, this is the power of the lethal tempo. They have ridiculous amount of damage, so if you like mess up a single combo or if you're not able to one-shot people, then they can trade back. That's why if you find yourself in these matchups and you're not able to do stuff in the mid lane, push out the waves and then just roam. Roaming is all you have to do, because most of the time roaming bot lane is guaranteed. Either you get the kill or you're going to blow the summoners, so the next roam is going to end up in kills. Push it out, we have the Herald coming in here, so we just want to push for the tower, get the remaining tower plates as well, and the tower for the first tower in the game. That is going to snowball us in the mid lane when the tower is down. Now it's not as safe for Kayle anymore to stay in the mid lane and be pushed up because she does not have a tower up. So we can play more aggressively now, invade the enemy jungle, look for kills. Remember, full combo is going to one-shot the squishy. As you can see right here, she has so much burst damage, especially when you finish that first mythic item. And even though we are sitting on 5 kills right now, we are sitting on a lot of gold as well, so we did not get to spend it yet. And already now we have so much damage, so just wait and see what the damage is going to look like when we have used up all of that gold. So that new AD assassin item, Axiom Arc, of course you're going to build it, but Humus Ghostblade is like the best lethality item for assassins. So really want that first, because it gives you a lot of damage and it also gives you that extra mobility so you can like chase people down. So I want the Humus Ghostblade first, and then you can build the Axiom Arc as the next item. If they're building armor, then you get the armor pin item first and then you build the Axiom Arc. You have really good wave play as well. You can like use double elements and that is going to take out the wave, push it out and then just roam. Roam over and over and over. That's all you gotta do on those AD assassins. Also, especially when you have that ultimate up, then you want to look for kills. Because a full combo is going to one-shot every single squishy in the game. So I had to abuse that ultimate, guys. You want to use it off cooldown. If there's somebody overextended, then go for that kill. Pick up that free 300 gold bonus. Look at that damage. When you are ahead, you have to be fed on these AD assassins at this point in the game. And when you are so, then a single basic rotation of your combos is going to one-shot the squishies. So you do not need that ultimate. This ultimate is really OP when you go for those objective fights, because it is AoE damage and CC as well, and it forms around the terrain, so when people group up for those dragons and barons and such, that's why this ability becomes really strong. Always start off with the river element. Always, and if you watch my gameplay then of course you know that I always do this as well. When you want to push though, then it doesn't really matter. Just make sure that you use the terrain element in the end, because it is the one that deals the most damage. And just constantly hover around the enemy jungle. This game I'm using Relentless Hunter in the domination tree that gives us a lot of bonus movement speed. That is what people use mostly nowadays on Qiyana because it is a roaming champ, and having that rune allows you to get to the other parts of the map faster, but if you want lower cooldown on your ultimate, then Ultimate Hunter is also fine. Constantly roam in the enemy jungle. Because you want to invade a lot, it's also important that you have the red sweeper, then you can clear out the wards, and then you'll be able to do stuff like this. Just straight up one shot the kill with a single combo. This is what Qiyana can do as soon as you learn the basics. Even if you do learn the basics and such, she's still pretty hard to master because she has so many different mechanics. All those elements that you have to know exactly when to use. And then of course she's also an assassin, so you have to know the assassin playstyle, how you want to play assassins, how you engage in fights and so on. So there are a lot of things that you can improve on when you play Qiyana. Now that we have the Yumus Ghostblade, another big power spike. As I said earlier on, this is like the best AD assassin item because it gives you a lot of damage and a lot of movement speed as well. So you can like get to other parts of the map faster. You know, you can pull off roams and make sure people don't escape. You still have to kite around though, because something like a Kale's ultimate, if she times it perfectly and use it to deny all of your damage, then you don't have anything up afterwards, and then you can trade back and then she can kill you as well. I always invade the enemy jungle, always clear out the vision, so when people want to go into the jungle they have to face check and then they risk getting one shot. The brush element, the only problem here is that when you push this far up into the enemy side of the map, then you're not able to pick up the river element anymore, because you need the river to do that. So that's a small disadvantage, is that you have to like walk all the way back to the river before you can pick it up. So like lose some of your engaged potential. Also guys, if you don't know like the range of your W, you can hover the cursor over the W ability icon and then it's going to show the range. And you do pick up a new element by hovering the cursor over the element you want to pick up, and then you press W and that's it. A lot of people asked me this in the last video, so that's why I'm mentioning it this time. You can see we are insanely fast because of the Yumus Ghostblade, as well as that Relentless Hunter in the domination tree. So you'll be able to get to the other parts of the map a lot faster. It should be very, very difficult for people to escape. Just constantly hover around here. So when like the mid game starts and such, you want to be in the side lane if possible, because that's why you can really pick up those kills. This combo I did right here, so your E guys makes you dash a fixed distance. So can I use that to dash through the minions to get closer to the enemy champs, and then I got like a quick WQ abilities off, and that ended up in a kill. There's also some sneaky tricks that you can make or take advantage of. But you do want to be in the side lane as much as possible. Extended lane, a lot easier for you to find kills, and also a lot harder for the opponent to like escape, because they have to run all the way back before they reach a tower. You want to be in the side lane, and if you don't find any kills in the side lanes, you just push it out and then you invade the enemy jungle. If you find the jungler, walk up, one shot him, take away his camps, and he's gonna be so tilted. They're gonna be so angry. I can promise you guys they're gonna be so mad when this happens. But this is pretty much what you have to do every single game. Look for kills in the mid lane because you're playing an assassin, so you have to be able to find those kills. If you are not, shot a wave and then just roam over and over. And then when you have the lead I have right now, then you almost cannot mess up your combos because a single basic combo is going to one-shot every single squishy. If the enemy team happens to have a lot of shields, then Serpent's Fang is also an option. I like to build this in a lot of my games because most of the time people do have some kind of shielding item or maybe ability in the passive. For example, Yasuo, he builds shield ball a lot and then he also has that shield on his passive. Also Yone, Graves, Seraphine, Qiyana, Lulu. When you're up against those champs, then make sure that you get the Serpent's Fang. Just constantly show the wave. Your Q is going to one-shot the wave now because we are so far ahead. Make sure you also farm. You're not getting high CS per minute, that is not happening on this champ, but make sure that you still farm up so you don't fall behind in XP. And some champions you're not able to fight like ever unless you can one-shot them in a single rotation. Jax, for example, is something you do not want to mess with. Qiyana struggles a lot against bruisers, you know, Garen, Jax, Darius, Zed and so on. Those are the champions that she cannot deal with. Also Renekton. And obviously she's an assassin, so they are supposed to struggle against these types of champs. So if you get counterpicked by bruisers, then you will not be able to lane in the mid lane. So you either have to roam or you have to dodge the champion select because those are not playable. So this is how you want to use the brush element. Use it to kite people with so they cannot damage you. Just like I did right here, as you can see that invisibility. Jax wasted his Z and we can just wait in that W inside it. He's not able to do anything, and this is what you want to do against those types of champs that can like trade back and like destroy you in those fights. That's why this brush element becomes really strong. Good guy Sarath did not try to steal the cannon. We just push up the wave here. We do have the Baron because our allies took it, so we just push it up. Try to go for the outer towers and then we want to close it out. Assassins are strongest in the mid game, so in the mid game is why you want to close out the game, because if it goes to the late game, you can see they have a kill, they have a Seraphine. They're going to be so difficult to take down. Also Israel, because he can build those tanky items, armor items, and then it's going to be so much harder. So try to end it in the mid game, guys. And for you to do that, it's important that you learn how to find leads in the early game. 80 assassins, you want to find kills. Take down the objectives, of course. Kills should lead to the objectives. Kills are just a way for you to get the objectives, so make sure that you focus down the objectives. Does not matter if it's a tower, a dragon, Rift Herald. Even the small objectives like the blue buff, red buff, skull crab and so on. Just make sure that you take those away when you have the chance to do so. Now that we have level 16, it's pretty rare that it goes this far in the game when you play assassins and you snowball this hard, because people usually just surrender. But this is one of the rare games. Level 16, of course, a massive power spike because that is the last point that you get to put into your ultimate. There's like a quick combo that you do is like river element into the terrain element, like double Q. This is like to poke people. This is also what you do in the landing phase, like when they are full HP, you want to poke them, you go for stuff like this, and then once your abilities are back up again, that's when you go for an all-in. Just keep pushing it here. We got the kill in the top lane. Push it down for the remaining towers. Now top lane. The only towers left are in the top lane, so that's where we want to go. I just constantly hover in the enemy jungle here. Make sure to abuse that invisibility, so if somebody is waiting in the brush, then they will not be able to do anything. But this is pretty much how you want to play Qiyana, so really try to learn to go for these kills. Really limit test. It does not matter if you die when you're learning her. It's important that you know exactly how much damage you can deal, so I can go for those kills in the early game. So really try to limit test a lot on this champ when you're learning Qiyana, guys, because that is the only way that you're going to improve. Just push for the remaining objectives here. This game is done so. They are not able to come back from this game here. We are way too far ahead. Just push for the remaining objectives with your teammates and go for that end. When you're this far up, you're not able to pick up the brush element. You pretty much only have the terrain element, and then you can walk all the way back to the jungle to pick up the brush one. So it's a lot harder to find that double element burst combo. Remember that ultimate is going to form around the terrain, so if you use it while people are stacked up, you're going to hit all of them, stun all of them, and deal massive amounts of burst damage as well. So try to be patient with it also and wait for the right moment. But this is how you play Qiyana. I hope this was helpful. As always, thank you so much for watching, guys, and see y'all in the next video.